to bring in the new year, I have an amazing guest for you. You might get a little deja vu because you might remember him from last year, but I honestly cannot think of anybody better to bring a new year in than this magical man. So let me introduce to you again Orion Foxwood. Yes, he's a traditional witch, a conjure man, a fairy seer, an eco-magical activist, which I'll have to explain that later, and the author of several amazing books. He was born with the veil, Appalachian Mountains, and Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, but I'm going to let him tell you some of that because you might know him from last time. So without further ado, I'm going to bring you the man himself. Welcome, Orion.
Hi, Patti. It's so nice to be back on your show. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well,
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, go on. Jump in. I know we're like two little kids. You guys, I've known this guy for years and years and years. Even though we're opposite coasts, when he'd come to LA, I'd take workshops with him. We've done rituals on the beach together, and to have him here, it's like family. So we just expect two little kids wiggling around, and that's okay.
And we will do more.
Anyway,
we will do more together. We will do more.
We'll do more. So it is a new year. What is a new year? So how would you want to bring in this? It's, we had a kind of crazy one last year, and it's been kind of crazy for a while now. What are your magical thoughts on this?
Well, my queen in the craft, Lady Circe, used to say, the witch does not dwell in the circle of the light or the circle of the dark, but in the gray space in between. And she said that, and she also, one of the other statements she would make about betwixt and betweenness or thresholds, which was, I do not worship the lady nor the Lord, but the love space in between. Isn't that powerful?
That is beautiful. That is.
I know. Deeply moving.
Yeah, and you are better with words and rhyme and cadence than honestly anyone I've ever met. You are, what do you call that?
Well, thank you so much. I think that came from when I was a little boy, the elders, because I'm Southern and Appalachian, and I grew up in the Shenandoah Valley, and a lot of folk magic was there. They didn't always call it magic, though. It was just the ways, it was just the ways, what you did. And the elders recognized very early that I had an ability to remember the old charms and to ensoul them, And so ever since I was a little kid, when I would see, the witches on TV or wherever, and they're speaking or in old nursery rhymes and such, the cadence, the rhythm of those charms enchanted me. And then when I started to learn the old charms in Appalachian and then in the craft traditions, they bespelled me, pardon the pun. And so I've been in love with them ever since. And so we estimate that I have about 500 in my little brain, and I love them. I love them.
That is beautiful. So other that you learn these and you memorize them, do you think in rhyme and cadence? Is that coming into your way of it?
Yes, that's funny.
It sounds like it to me.
Yeah, it becomes a part of you. I just said yesterday that I have a maddening affair with the metaphor, and that I love the metaphor. I love textured language because it's ensouled, It's ensouled. I could say that I touched my beloved's skin, or I could say that I explored the rhythm of my beloved's skin, like, I don't know, like going down the landscape of their soul, and tracing the landscape, the map of eternity written on the flesh of the beloved. There's so I could say it one way, or I could all of a sudden have us tingling by going into textured words. And I think our elders, they knew that with the metaphor, but also there's something about the rhythm itself and the way it cones power. It dips the threading of fate's web in our favor, When I was a little boy, and then I'll say some things about New Year's about this, there was just an old man. He would come down from the Blue Ridge, and he'd come down to see my mom on his way to the farmer's market. And he told me my first charm, which was an old weather charm. And I can say it real quick. It's, you got to have a knocking rock. A knocking rock's a rock halfway in the land, halfway out. They use them a lot in Appalachia. Yeah, isn't that interesting? And so you get just an old rag and a bucket of water, and this is to bring rain. And you would dip the rag into the water, and this is an example of the cadence and rhythm of these things. And then you would slap that knocking rock with that wet rag, and you'd be doing this like, so you go, I abjure the blood and all its stains, to blacken the skies in witchcraft's name, to raise the wind and bell the dame, and bring the rain and bring the rain. So you would dip it and then do this chant, and then bring the rain, it was to whip up all the wind. And really what it's saying, I abjure the blood and all its stains. It's talking about the blood of Jesus, because Jesus is a solar cult, a solar king. And so if the sun's out, it's not going to rain. So it's like saying, Jesus, I got this. Okay, I got this, buddy. I abjure the blood, so you have to step back, and all its stains, to blacken the skies, and it says in witchcraft's name. So it's talking about the chthonic primal powers of the dark goddess. Because if the sky doesn't go black with the clouds laden heavy with moisture, it won't rain. It says, abjure the blood and all the stains of blackened skies in witchcraft's name, to raise the wind, we got that, and bell the dame, which means to beautify the lady, because when it rains, she flowers, she turns green. Isn't that beautiful? And bring the rain, and bring the rain. And that charm was my first one. And I'll never forget when he was teaching it, I was just enchanted, right? And I memorized it. And one of the things he told my mom, he said, he's got the charm. And he was using the word both ways, to charm, these rhymed spells, but also to be charming. He said, because when a charm is good, not even God can resist. Is that more so you're wooing? It's a type of wooing and funneling,
Yeah. It is. It's romantic. It's poetic. And we know how important words are. And then to so carefully pick the words, we know how important sound is, cadence, movement in it. Listen to music, how music can inspire, music can relax, music can do everything to us. It's a form of music with the words. But I wish I would have known that spell, like for the last however many we've been in a drought in Los Angeles. We're doing okay now. We've got some rain going, but I'm stuck on that rock. So a rock that's half in and half out. Well, tell me about that. I'm just intrigued because I have those in my yard. Yes. I didn't know they were magic.
Oh, goodness, yes. And so actually, oddly, it would be good to talk about that a moment anyway, because that's a threshold. That's a threshold. And we're standing at a threshold because, of course, January coming up is named after Janus, or Janus, the two-headed or two-faced god that looks to the past and to the future. And it was Caesar who established that the month of January being named after Januarium, or Janus, and established it as the official New Year's Day, because different cultures had it at different times, right? And so it's to honor the looking back and the looking forward at the same time, which is very powerful. Now, what the knockin' rock, and they called it a knockin' rock, was of the rag, knocking the rag on there. And they'd use those rags like that was to bring the pelting rain. But let's say there was an illness that needed to be frayed. Sometimes they would take rags also, wipe a person down, right? And then wet it in living water that's come from a creek, and a water that's moving away from you because you want the illness to move away. And then wash the person down and then beat on the rock until it turns to threads. And they're taking apart the illness. It's really neat. So these knockin' rocks were a big deal. They were often the ones we had because, up in the Blue Ridge, you get these huge like boulders, that are massive, because those mountains are a part of Pangea. Those are as old as Africa. They're really old, and you feel it. And the rock being half in and half out is really the same reason that when we go to, say, a graveyard to do work, we will look for the highest cross or highest obelisk or oldest and highest tree in the graveyard as the center post. And the use of crosses is really interesting, because if they didn't find that, they would take a cross like made out of wood and put it into the ground so that once it's put in, it looks like a plus sign, an equal armed cross. because more people live below the horizon than above. That's the land of the dead and the land of the living. That more people
Ah.
are behind us than are in the world right now. Very powerful. So it's the long road, right? Well, likewise with these stones, I was told that the Dock Rock likely came from old fairy tradition, right? Which is really the oldest. That's the oldest traditions in the world. It's animistic. And that the stone being half in, half out is like the ancient enchanted floating islands, you know, that would show up in the mists. And so from this side, it looks like the stone is rising. From the underworld, it also looks like the stone is rising, right? So, but it's one stone. And so what we're doing is making this so in the three worlds, the heavens, the middle world here, and the worlds below, right? And sometimes it would also write things on them, like write wishes, if you wanted some, and using chalk, which is interesting because chalk is made of the fossilized remains of calcified bones and such. That's all it's just calcium. It's calcium. Yeah.
Really?
Chalk they would
I didn't
use
know.
and lead pencils because lead is Saturnian, you know? Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
And
what's that?
simple things, just these simple little things. And also even to clear things off of you. If you have a knock and rock nearby, right? A knock and rock or an old stump, right? A knock and rock, again, it's a stone halfway in, halfway out. If there's not one there, you can go get one, right? And put it.
Yeah, no, I've got all over my yard. I'm going to go knock.
We'll come over to your place.
Yeah.
And they're great fun because you can also, this would be a great time to take an egg, wipe yourself down while praying to your ancestors to work through the egg, to clear it, clear you of all that impedes your path ahead, to open the good roads to you. And the roads of blessing are life, death, luck, and love. And you want them open in equal measure. And whenever I say that, people will say, I don't want my death road open. I said, yes, you do. And they're like, no, I said, excuse me for being base here. I said, then you don't want to poop all year? It's about release, letting go. That's just one example.
Yeah.
So you're receiving and you're releasing, you're starting and you're ending to be in balance, because to begin anything, you're ending something else.
I love that. So life and death and luck
and
and
love.
love.
And luck is about being in right relationship with your soul. When you listen to the guidance that comes within, you'll never err. And the old meaning for sin, interestingly, sin is an old Aramaic archery term. And it means missing the mark. That's all it means. And the concept of to sin is to make error, to be in error and to not follow the guidance of our soul. And how many times have we had times in life where we said, I knew it, why didn't I listen? And we listened, and then listening, as here we are at the crossroads of the year, and to our fellow magic workers out there, this is a very powerful insight I'm about to give, and it has to do with where we listen from. In the old Celtic tradition, there's a sacred poem called the Cauldron of Poesy, and it's about the three cauldrons in the body: one in the head, one in the heart, and one in the gut. Now, to show you how powerful this is, I can prove to you that everyone knows this. See, the cauldrons are really about where consciousness pools, like pooling, like a pool of water, where it pools and swirls and then pours down into the next, right? Or heats up and rises. And so I could prove to you that we have all known that consciousness is here, here, and here. How many times have any of us said, I knew it, and pointed to our head, but I knew it? Or they'll say, I knew it in my heart. I knew it. And they'll say, I knew it in my gut. I had a gut feeling. Your gut will always tell you about survival. It'll always tell you, in many ways, it tells you the big picture. Your head, of course, is mostly about thought and about and of the three, the gut's the quickest. It's the one to go, no, no, don't do it, don't do it. It's not rational. It knows things very quickly. And then, of course, the heart, we have to do work because our feelings can get in the way, right? Sometimes. And emotion and feeling are not the same, right? Like a feeling is a sensation we get, but an emotion is a sensation felt in the body and emoted outward. Yep. Yep.
Say that again.
A sensation or feeling is literally that. It's a sense. It's the aliveness of something. Like I touch this wood, I feel its texture, I feel its temperature, all of that. So I'm sensing it, right? But when I sense that, if that sense, as I take it into my being, has a great value and importance to me, then I'll start to repeat that sense inside me, and it starts to build in power. Now, if I hold it there, if it's a negative one, it can start to cause problems in the body, right? And so thus holding on to feelings we don't express can be hurtful. So an emotion is that feeling that's built up power and then is emoted outward. That's where the word emotion comes from. And so we have, what we got to get used to is we have a core sense, and all the other senses come from that core sense. I call it aliveness, for lack of a better term, but I like it because when I'm looking at a star out there, it's so distant, right? But if I allow the aliveness in me to touch the aliveness of the star, and how I know they've touched is when I feel that feeling of childlike awe, that wonderment. Now I've soul reached to it and mind touched, and now that star and I, across aeons of time, can be in direct communication. So soul reaching, mind touching. Magic workers, know this: you really want to get your divinities to come to your circle. You really want to draw these sacred things to you. Feel it, and you'll reveal it. Feeling, manage your feelings that way, and so that. Our thoughts are like throwing out a fishing line, but it's our feelings that draw it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
is great. Again, I learned from you every sentence out of your mouth for so long.
Thank you.
So, okay. So Anna, I love that. I'm looking at the rock. It's neither here nor there. It's up, it's down. I'm just going in circles and circles. And how you even mentioned the egg. An egg I know has been used in magic forever and all sorts of conjure stuff. So tell people why.
Well, the egg is interesting because most of it is about the containment, right? And that the outer form that's chalk. That's basically chalk. That's calcium. And so what happens is on a resonant level, that will speak all the way to your bones, right? And then inside the what is it? There's the yolk, which is the yellow, is the solar. And then that clear, sticky kind of, that's the lunar. So this is cleaning your bones, this is cleaning your soul, and this is cleaning your spirit, right? And so the egg, we're supposed to do a fertile egg. I don't necessarily, but I find it works anyway. But the thing is about eggs and about anything that you're cleaning yourself with, whether it's an egg or whether it's some seeds, believe it or not, some bird seeds you can do it with, because seeds and an egg is a type of seed. It's not a botanical one, but it's like a seed, and it's containing life inside of it, right? And so when we use these things, we can't just rub them down and think, boom, it does something. We have to rarefy it. And rarefying it means to acknowledge its inherent power at the highest level. So, we wash the egg off and we know that this is a seed of life. But we then have to connect this greater power to it. So we first call out to God, Goddess, all that is, to loan the power to remove that which is blocking us, right? That which is hindering us, that which is girdling our soul. We call to place its power in the hands of our ancestors. We often funnel it that way. And then ask the ancestors to place their hand upon my hand upon this egg. Now I've funneled power from the original ancestor, the maker of all things, through my ancestral stream, human and other, to this event that's happening, and the egg itself becomes the meeting place of all these powers. And then as I'm washing down, I may be saying things like, I don't know, to Bane, be gain, thrice take ye back from whence ye came, or if it's a curse or something we think we have on us, then it's, thy curses and thy sorcery are powerless to injure me. By earth, by water, by wind and sea, I send thy curses back to thee. Return by law of three, I send thy curses back to thee. These are examples, and as we're doing it, we have to pray or we have to chant and charm the entire time, because that's holding and funneling that power and keeping it done, and then the egg will get heavy. We'll feel a heaviness in it. And now I was taught to take the egg and either throw it at a crossroads, right? You go to a crossroads, you toss it, and then and you ask, the opener of the way, Papa, the dark rider at the crossroads, to open the way and to close now the roads between me and what's been removed. Or as I'll say, let this way be closed until I should call again, may peace abide between thee and me. There's an old conjuration, it's called the license to depart. And you use it for almost anything when you're saying go away. Like if you're cleansing your house at New Year's, which is a good time, or you're standing at the front door saying to the bad spirits, not here. And that is, it goes, all ye spirits in these parts I call, all ye baneful spirits in these parts I call, come ye, come one and all. By whatever authority conjured your presence here, I conjure you by that same authority. Leave now and let peace abide between thee and me until I shall call you back. So mote it be. And then you close the way so that, they're gone. But you notice what you say. You're not declaring war on it. You're saying, by whatever authority conjures you here, I conjure you by that same authority. Leave now and let peace abide between thee and me.
Yeah. That is so beautiful, because I also work, besides my witchy world, I work in the paranormal world, all the ghost hunters and things like that, and they're finally learning. But all this this opposite of peace, like, talk to us now. It's like, why don't you talk nice, and they'll talk to you now with spirits. They're finally are getting it. But what a beautiful way to look at it. Even anything you need to get out of your house, it doesn't have to be curse you. It's like with peace. So exactly. Thank you for that.
Well, things get on us, like what you said, with spirits, with human spirits. These are humans. These are people like you and I with hopes and dreams. And if they're haunted, it means there was something traumatic and painful. If they're inspiriting, that means that they're there, they want to be there, and they're happy. Or if they're not happy, you're helping them. But I tell people it's very rare that we have to declare war. Get off the battlefield and onto the dancing floor.
See, another rhyme. I like who doesn't want to dance? I love that. So, oh my God, this is beautiful. So what are some of the things? It's a brand new year. We're days into it. So what are some of your suggestions or practice or invitation to this new year that you suggest?
Absolutely. Now, remember that everywhere you are at any moment, the only true real thing is that moment, right? It's the now. And we are arriving on the momentum of the nows before us, behind us, and then we're moving on the momentum of the nows unfolding. So at any given moment, you're standing in the threshold of the moment that rolled under and the moment that's rolling out, right? And so we have to honor the undertow, like the past. Do not curse the past, because that which you curse, you become, and you cannot curse the roots and bless the fruits. So what you do is, as we're standing in this unfurling year, right? By the way, there's a concept in ancient Roman tradition called anaparena. Anaparena. You don't hear this name often. Anaparena is the name of a goddess. She is the goddess of the